On Tuberville, we saw the op-ed written this morning by three of the service secretaries about the hold. Does the secretary have any plans to speak with Tuberville about this issue in the coming days or weeks as the Senate comes back?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I don't have anything to announce right now in terms of future calls. Of course, the secretary has talked about this both publicly and privately as recently as the Chief of Naval Operations relinquishment of responsibility about the impact that these holds have on our readiness and on our security. And of course, the department continues to call for the lifting of these holds.
Are there any next steps here? I mean, what is going to happen now? Do you think that the Senate is back? I mean, it seems like obviously we're still at such a standstill. What's the solution here? What's the next step?
Yeah. Well, really, I mean, I would refer you to the Senate, to the Congress, to answer that question. You know, I've been asked before to try to put this into context in terms of why does this matter? And, you know, with football season starting, I would say imagine going into the football season with a bunch of acting coaches for each of our teams, with a regulation that limits any of those acting coaches from presuming that he or she was actually going to officially lead the team. And those acting coaches who come up through the organization are now responsible for not only being the offensive and defensive coordinators, but also acting as the head coach. And so in the short term, they're likely going to make things happen because that's what good leaders do. But what happens when performance on the field becomes impacted? Over time, how are you going to deal with the uncertainty of within the coaching staff and the locker room in terms of who's in charge, how are we going to affect performance, and then who are the fans going to hold accountable? And so the longer that these blanket holds are in place and the more that future leaders are kept in limbo, the more uncertainty and friction it will create within the ranks, not to mention the impact on the families of those who serve. And ultimately, as I mentioned, this is an issue for Congress to address. It would be inappropriate for me to comment on how they should go about it. But I can tell you that our military leaders simply want to do the job that our nation expects of them, to lead our military, to protect and defend our nation, and if necessarily, overwhelmingly defeat our enemies in battle. So again, we'd ask that the Senate work to lift these holds and enable the confirmation of our general and flag officers.
Just one quick follow-up on Tuberville. So is the Pentagon concerned that the rationale that Tuberville is using seems to be shifting? Because originally, obviously, it was about abortion policy, it was about reproductive health policies. Now it seems like he's going on the offensive against the nominees themselves. So is the Pentagon concerned that perhaps some of those nominees will have to be pulled or changed?
Well, again, I mean, that's a question that only the Senate and Senator Tuberville can address. Our focus remains on defending the nation and ensuring that we have the leadership in place to do what our nation expects us to do, which is to defend this country and be ready to go to war if we need to do that. Let me go to Ryder here.
Thank you, General.